Keynes is a new town and, of course, home to the Open University. It's also a place where the future is being trialed and created in real time right before our very eyes. It's a smart city that soon may be home to driverless cars and a place where citizens are being empowered to use data to transform their lives and their communities. Enrico Mata is the project director of MK Smart, so I asked him what he thinks our future cities will look like.
Actually, I've always been very, very interested at the intersection of technology and people. So pretty much all my career, even when I was doing my PhD, for example, I was interested in understanding how you could build computers that were able to solve problems like people do, as opposed as just having algorithms that are machine-like but are not human-like. So this intersection between people and technology is really what drives my research. And of course, in the modern world, where technology is now much more ubiquitous than it was when I started my career, I will say working at the intersection of technology and cities as communities is a natural step for my research, and that's what I really like doing.
So how did this become the MK Smart project, and how did this form, and what were some of the driving ideas behind it?
Well, we are very lucky as Open University to be actually physically based in Milton Keynes. And I think we are very lucky. We have a very progressive council that looks at this objective of being at the forefront of technology to improve quality of life in the city as one of the key priorities.
As a technologist, I know putting together a kind of team to help do this from a technology side might be relatively straightforward, but what kinds of other types of skills did you need and people did you need? And how did you kind of come up with creating a team that wasn't just about technologists, but also had people from the public and kind of the ability to have a more inclusive team that dealt with the people side as well as the technology side?
Yeah, absolutely. The history of not just smart cities, but the technology is full of failures due to the fact that you only had technologists in the picture and you didn't have other profiles, including crucial in the concept of smart city, you need to have citizens. So I think this is really one of the big strengths of MK Smart. The fact is, first of all, it's not just a technology-led project, but also is a project where the requirements come from the council and there is a strong input from a variety of stakeholders, industry, council, academia, but also the community. But also, in addition to that, we didn't just do citizen engagement. We didn't just, run a roadshow and told people what we were doing. We say, hey, come and contribute, come and work with us, and if you have really cool ideas, let us know, and we might actually help you with realize it. And indeed, I was very happy that we helped a number of ideas to implementation.
That sounds very inspiring and optimistic. But I would also be interested in some of the challenges. I know, for instance, when people think of smart technology, they sometimes think of the really exciting possibilities of it. But then when the nitty-gritty comes about it, for instance, around data sharing, it becomes a little more complicated. So I'd be interested in some of the concrete challenges you faced in moving forward this kind of smart, empowering agenda, and also some of the ways in which you think there has to be some shifting of how people think, or some myths that might emerge that really have hindered the ability to kind of put this forward in the most empowering way possible.
A key challenge is really to do with data availability and the nature of data. When you talk about smart solutions in cities, a lot of the time is basically about generating and making available data that can improve decision making. But then, of course, when you look at the practicalities, all these data that you're talking about typically belong to many, many different organizations. Very often, you have ideas as well. If we can get all this data, for example, about energy use, then we can do these clever things that then means everybody wins. We can optimize use of energy. Okay, but the data about energy use belong to individual customers. There is a privacy element there. And again, this tension has not been solved optimally at the moment. Of course, you don't necessarily want, I certainly don't want all my energy data to to be released public so that anybody can use them and know that those are my energy data. because, well, first of all, they are private data, and second, you can infer a lot about my lifestyle and the lifestyle of my family simply from looking at the energy data, even when we are at home or we are not at home.
What role do you see in projects like MK Smart and for technologists to do a similar process with data empowerment and allowing people to understand the possibilities of data?
There is a big challenge for us in being able to develop, for example, data portals, city data portals, which are really accessible, which make information interesting enough and easy to discover enough that people might say, hey, actually, I would like to know what the council is doing in my neighborhood, for example, with respect to road building or energy or whatever, any other initiative. Beyond that, I think the key approach is really then to come up with dedicated solutions for specific things. So, for example, like the Our MK portal is a very successful portal because it doesn't try to do everything. It doesn't try to be a portal where you go and find anything that is happening in the council. It's simply a portal to encourage crowdsourcing of ideas, debate about the smart city, and allow people to propose ideas, vote on other people's ideas, and eventually to have a debate and to come to some agreement about priorities. So essentially, there is this, I would say, this kind of high road and low road. The low road is to have many more portals like RMK, which just do one thing, but they do really nicely and they engage the community. The high road is also to find better interfaces and better mechanisms to allow people to make sense of data. And that's really, of course, really important, not just in Milton Keynes, but for a healthy democracy in today's world. As you know, in the past few years, there's been a little bit of a shift towards irrationality and sort of, essentially diminish the value of evidence. And I think it's really important actually to try and address that by having better solutions to allow people to really see the data about an issue and then make up their mind. That's not an easy challenge.
Get more from the Open University. Check out the links on screen now.